Um, so passive cash flow for life came about some time ago, about 12, 13 years ago. A woman named Nicole Amundsen, who was the founder, basically started buying commercial properties about 26, 27 years ago, and was able to expand a pretty enormous portfolio across the United States of single family, multifamily, mobile home parks, and self-storage. And then she had several other businesses on the side. Then about, I guess, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, I took the class and it was awesome. And we ended up partnering on a bunch of stuff. So right now there's a little over 6,000 doors in the portfolio, and continue to teach. The course is actually online right now, and a lot of the people actually that are on here now are students. We decided to start something called Teaching Tuesdays about a year and a half ago, which is just a way to do two things. One is to kind of introduce ourselves to individuals and kind of build that trust that, kind of know what we're talking about. And, if they have an interest, then they hopefully will take the course. And then at the same time, we're also, for people that aren't in multifamily at all, they're actually able to kind of dip their toe in the water, and kind of see, hey, is this something that I kind of have an interest in? And at the same time, we've actually expanded. So we do have something called the Academy, which Jane, who's online right now, and Sharon actually run. That's kind of our single family. And then someone named Renard Owens is coming on board. He's kind of the notes expert. So we kind of do three different things. We do, well, four different things, but multifamily, single family, and notes. So that's kind of where this is going over the last couple of weeks. But what do you do now, Jamal? Are you involved in real estate now?
Yeah, so can everybody introduce themselves, who they are, where they're from? I feel
Yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. That way I
Okay,
can.
absolutely. So my name is James Ray. I'm in Maryland. I just kind of gave you the introduction. And I guess Mel, why don't we just start across the top of how I have you guys actually on here. So Mel, Freddie, maybe they stepped away. Jane?
Hey Jamal, I'm Jane Irwin. Sharon Mackenzie's to my left. We are in Sarasota, Florida, and we run the virtual REI Academy, which is single family, and we typically invest anywhere in the US. We're currently in probably 11 or 12 states, and that's about our background. We've been doing it since 2016.
Awesome. Joanna, you're next.
Awesome.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I couldn't find the button. How are you guys?
Great.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy
My name is
Tuesday.
Joanna. My name is Joanna, and I'm based out of Maryland. And I focus primarily on multifamily. And the areas that we buy in are PA, West Virginia, VA, and surrounding areas within 3 to 4 hour radius. And I focus primarily on investor relations for our team, which majority of my team is here. So if there's anything that we can help you with, please let us know.
Awesome. Jamal, you're next up, but you already introduced yourself. So Joe and Nashra, you guys want to introduce yourself? Jamal was asking if we could give like a little, 30-second bio on who we are and what we do.
Absolutely. Hi, Jamal, and hello, everybody else. Hope you're doing well. Joe and I are now multifamily investors, and we're happy students of Nicole and James. I've been a real estate investor for some time, but we are upstarters in the multifamily space, and we're very happy to do that.
We're based around Baltimore. We're focusing on the Mid-Atlantic region, but keeping our eyes on other markets as well. We're a husband-wife team. Nashraf is a project management professional, and I focus on legal due diligence using my training as a lawyer.
Awesome. And then Malik.
I guess I could go, James. I
Okay. Hey.
tried speaking earlier, but I don't know what's happening. I guess you couldn't hear me, but
Yeah, no,
I
it's
could hear
hard on the
you guys.
phone.
Hey, Jamal, my name is Freddie, and my phone says Mel's because I'm on my wife's phone. And we also do multifamily. We co-host a meetup with James and Joanna at the Guinness Brewery the third Thursday of every month. And I've been in real estate for a few years. Used to work with a larger team doing several flips, and now more focus on multifamily. So welcome, and yeah, let us know if you have any questions.
Awesome. And Malik, I don't know if you wanted to say something or not. You're more than welcome to unmute if you'd like to say hi. That's totally up to you. Okay, awesome. All right. So I guess Jamal, what kind of real estate do you do now, or do you do anything? You're brand new, you've been around for a while.
Well, I've invested in single family from condos to townhomes to single family homes. And I feel like I was just running all over the place with that. So recently I've taken some programs, boot camp classes on real estate investment. Um, I work in the restoration industry. I've been a licensed contractor for 6 years. So I've learned a lot on the restoration side as a VP for a corporation. And anytime these multifamily properties have any type of water damage issues, we have to respond. We did a lot of master service agreements with a lot of the, I guess you call the institutional type of corporate type of multifamily properties. So meeting and seeing some of the owners and how these guys were really enjoying what they're doing, and that's doing anything they want to do all day. And whether they're on the boat, yachts, or playing golf, or just enjoying life, I decided that's something I want to pursue. So that's it. You know, my wife doing this is my family. Of course, we all are aging, something we sometimes we don't want to recognize, but that's happening, and I like to make sure that my family's in good hands. So I went into meet up with a group in Greensboro and groups in Raleigh and Charlotte. So I saw this group and I clicked on it. So I think I thought this maybe was a group everybody's putting some input in to share their experiences and things of that nature. So I'm listening and
Absolutely.
learning.
Okay, fantastic. So, from a multifamily standpoint, it sounds like that's the direction you're going in. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, me and one of my partners, we're already in that direction. Like we're now looking at things. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have like a buy box in terms of, hey, we would like to be in this geography, this size, this price point, this A, B, or C, or D, or anything like that?
Well, yeah, we're looking in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia market because that's somewhere close. We can get, within driving distance.
Yep.
We've been looking at B and C properties, staying a little bit south of 100 units.
Okay.
So that's some of the things we've been, focusing and concentrating on. We
Okay.
got some
Fantastic.
local commercial real estate agents and brokers that are collaborating to make sure they're sending some stuff that they have online and offline to us.
Okay, fantastic. And then are you underwriting these and then making, sending in LOIs, or what stage are you at?
Yeah, my partner and I can underwrite. We graduated undergrad together. He's been in accounting for over 20 years. I've been in marketing, operations, and development for the same amount of time, and also a builder.
Okay.
So yeah, we're underwriting and making sure we're making the right moves when we look at something.
Okay,
Like I'm
fantastic.
saying, we're just starting into the whole process. We're still learning and everything, but we're putting together teams as we go. But we see a deal in Maryland or Virginia, we're going after it, so we don't care.
Okay, fantastic. So, all right. So I guess a couple things. So, we did a presentation, unfortunately a little bit in the area. We have a live meetup, right? Where people actually come, we hang out, we have a beer, and, we all talk or whatever it is. We do a presentation. And then last Wednesday, I guess it was, when we did ours. And I don't know if you have an interest in mobile home parks. I love mobile home parks. I've got a bunch of them. They're cash cows, basically. And you can make a lot of money with them, but some people don't like that model, and that's totally fine. We also have a lot of multifamily, so that's cool too. Um, but one of the things that we really brought up as a lesson learned was, one, always ask, right? So when you're talking to these brokers, when you look at a deal and it doesn't pencil out for you, whatever it is, we recommend that the last question out of your mouth when you talk to the broker is, have you got anything else? Or what else have you got? Or what else can I look at, kind of thing, right? Always keeping that door open. And the other thing we learned also was we looked at a portfolio of mobile home parks that was offered. Somebody just sent it to me. We looked at it. It was like 100 and I can't remember what the numbers were. Maybe Freddie or Joanna knows, but it's like 115 pads or something like that altogether. And we didn't like one of them. And we asked the owner, hey, can we just, bid on this other one? And they said, yeah, absolutely. So that one was like 84 pads or something like that. So anyway, through due diligence, we figured out we did put in an LOI. They were 3-1 and we came in at 2-4. And they asked if we wanted to go higher and said, nope, that's our number. We underwrote it at that number, and that's the number that makes sense for us. And then we didn't hear from them for like 3 weeks, right? So I just reached out and said, hey, just, wanted to find out if you guys closed. And they said, no, actually, the owner likes your deal and would now, like to move forward. So there were some issues with a broker. He's not very timely. But what ended up happening is going through our initial due diligence, even before contract, is that Joanna was actually reaching out to the county to ask about what the rules were and ownership and all sorts of municipality rules and stuff like that. And she came across a couple of people. They came across a couple of people, and Joanna's fantastic at just saying, talking to people. They open up to her. And people are a wealth of information. So long story short, she ended up connecting with the seller of the park that we were looking at. And he gave us kind of the inside scoop of kind of what was going on. And a lot of the market that he's been in that market for like 40 years. He's probably in his, I don't know, mid to late 60s or something like that. And has been doing development and insurance and all sorts of different stuff and buying mobile home parks and selling mobile home parks for a long time. So he kind of gave us the rundown. And at that point, before going any further, we decided that this was not going to pan out based on what our numbers were. And part of that, as you probably know, when you're looking at offer memorandums, they're I don't want to say they're made up, but they're very, very, very optimistic because obviously the broker is going to paint the best picture they can. So these guys were way optimistic, and we were very conservative when we underwrote for the LOI. So we took about half of what they said the upside was, and that's how we came in at 2.4. And after talking to this other gentleman, the original owner, we're like, wow, that's not even going to work there. So we walked away from it, but Joanna's fantastic. And she, asked, like she always does, well, wow, you sold that one. Do you have anything else you want to sell? And sure enough, he's got another park that he wants to sell. So we're kind of doing some, I guess, some background work on that. So, and then, how did this other one happen? I got a deal today. Today? Yeah, today, this morning. I got a deal today for, and I don't know why all these mobile home parks are happening right now. Believe me, we get lots and lots of multifamily for whatever reason. Maybe it's mobile home park season or something like that. But we have a student that lives up in Pennsylvania, and he's relatively new. And he's in, construction as well. He's I can't remember what he does. I think he does electronic systems or something like that. But basically said, hey, this person sent me these 3 parks or whatever it is. Do you have an interest? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we're going back and forth, and it turns out that he went to high school with her, 25 years ago or whatever it is. So she connects me, he connects me with her and stuff like that. And by the time we actually get to it, it's under contract, right? So today, the woman reached out and said, hey, the person only bought 2 of the 3 parks. There's a 3rd park left. Do you have an interest? So the whole teaching nugget here is that you just keep all your lines of communication open. You always ask. And just because you sent in an LOI and they said no, it doesn't mean it's the end of the story, right? People come back and they say, hey, we, decided we're going to actually do this. Do you have an interest? Or, hey, you didn't quite make this other one. We have this other one that might be more in line with what you're doing. And it's just keeping those lines of communication open with everyone in the industry. As you have probably found out, Jamal, it is a relatively small community. And after you've been in for a while, people get to know other people. So it's very important, obviously, that we all deal with each other in integrity and everything else, because you don't want to be that one person that goes, oh, don't deal with, Joe or what, well, I'm sorry, Joe, don't deal with Jerry or somebody like that or whatever it is. So that's kind of the lesson there. In terms of underwriting, when you underwrite, do you have certain benchmarks that you use? Or is every deal different for you? Or when you underwrite, what are your like basic parameters, if you will?
We have a template that we follow, and the template kind of breaks down. We look at the income, expenses, get our ROI, then we go into our debt services, and then we get a look at it. And if it passes what we're looking for as far as number wise, then we request additional information.
Okay.
To kind of, I guess, to support the T12's receipts, invoice. We want to support everything that they're saying, because to your point, the broker always paints a pretty picture, right?
Yeah. So you got to look at the story and who's telling the story and stuff like that. So, and I'll just share with you the way we underwrite. And we've done this for a very, very long time. We will, as standard, we will underwrite for anything we look at a 10% vacancy rate, right? And that is economic vacancy, not physical vacancy, right? Because you see a lot of these things, oh, it's 5%, or hey, no, it's 100% occupied, which, someone's going to move out at some point, and if you're 100% occupied, quote unquote, you're probably not charging enough, number one. But number two, it makes me not trust the numbers, because 100% occupancy just doesn't make a lot of sense. So that 10% that we take right off the top is for physical vacancy, non-payment, any kind of incentives that we have to give out, if you will, if we need to lease up a building quickly or whatever it may be. So that and bad debt, so that 10% encompasses a lot of things. And it's broken down at a lot of the T12s and stuff like that. We just kind of back on the napkin, kind of just say 10% across the board. And then for expenses, we basically run across the portfolio. Our average expense ratio is about 45%, right? Mobile home parks are a little bit of a different animal. So it depends on whether we own the homes or the tenant owned the homes. If it's a smaller building, like, maybe 30 or 20 or anything like that, then maybe the expense ratio is a little closer to 40. But about 45 is kind of where we sit for the most part. And when we underwrite, that's what we underwrite at. And then we go, okay, based on these numbers, not the numbers they gave us, right? Does this make any sense? And it sounds like you've been doing this for a little while. So I'm sure you've seen some stuff that is like we looked at one place, it's like, yeah, 23% expenses. And I'm like, I don't know how you're doing that. Either you're running it, by yourself, and there's an incredibly large amount of deferred maintenance. Because I don't know anybody in the industry, even some of the really, really, really big players might run at like 35, 36% because they've got economies of scale. But that, is a much newer building. Not a lot of expenses right now, but further down the road, obviously there will be. But it's always interesting to see, I guess people's idea of what normal expenses are. Do you and your partner, do you guys plan on managing your own properties, or are you going to do everything through a property management company?
Great question. Everything's going to go through the property management company.
Okay. And that's
Being
actually
in the industry, the construction / restoration industry for quite some time.
right.
I've developed relationships with owners and asset managers and regional vice presidents. And so a lot of the times they, will meet for coffee, may meet for lunch, may meet for dinner, and they're just sharing some of their experiences and some of their templates for underwriting and all that information. So I'm kind of privileged to a lot of information from people that their livelihood has been doing this for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years
Right.
with 1,000 doors, 800 doors, 2,000 doors. So they've really been really sharing a lot of information with me, give me some tools
Right.
for the trade. But like I said, I wanted to connect with a group of like-minded individuals so I can still learn, because I'm a sponge. I definitely want to learn. I don't want to get burned.
Right. Now, it's funny because I know this one guy that actually is in the space, and I try and learn from everybody as well. If I'll hop on a webinar with somebody or whatever it is, if I'm on there for 3 hours and I walk away with one nugget, I'm good. That's fine. I don't know everything. I mean, I know a lot based on what Nicole has taught me and what I've learned over time, but I absolutely do not know everything. So we're always kind of learning. So kudos to you on that. In terms of So I'll give you an example. So a property management, so we don't manage any of our own properties, right? Zero. 6,000 units, don't manage any of them, right? We manage the property managers, and property management, as you probably know, being in the business, is so critical to us, Jamal, that if we find a smoking hot deal, but we can't find a good property management company that is going to meet our metrics, we'll walk away from the deal. It's that important. You can have an awesome deal and get the wrong property management company, and they'll take a great product and drive it into the ground. Or you can buy something like what we like, which is stuff with hair on it, right? The stuff that we can turn around and make a large profit on, and have the right property management company, and they'll make it into a star. So, property management, and I'm sure you probably do, if it sounds like you have a lot of contacts and stuff like that, but we're very detailed in how we interview property management companies. And, we're not trying to butt heads with them. We're not trying to get something or whatever it is, but we want it to be a partnership. We want that partnership to be based on metrics that work for us, like NOI, right? At the end of the day, and we give out bonuses that they may not to, property managers or whoever it may be, and say, hey, listen, here's kind of the deal. If you guys get to this number by the end of the year and you follow the budget and you get your occupancy up to this number, we'll give you $1,000. You can double, basically your salary, if you will. And that seems to work really, really well for us. People really get incentivized because they feel they're part of the ownership team. We have a student that is a very, very large residential broker. He's been doing it since he was like 19 or something like that. And he's been buying stuff just here in Maryland. And he's got this little 23, 24 unit property that he bought like 3 years ago, implemented, everything that we taught him. And right now, from this little 22, 23 unit property, he clears about 180 grand a year, right? So after expenses, after the mortgage, after the bonuses to the property management lady that works there. So that's a pretty good return on a little 23 unit. So the idea there is obviously if you run it right, you can do really, really well. From a long-term perspective, so what we do is we don't sell anything, right? We keep everything. We've sold one or two things, but for the most part, 99% of the time we keep everything. Because to your point, and I can't speak for everybody else on here, and obviously please jump in, people, but my goal is to take care of my family, right? Whether I'm here or I'm not here, if I X myself out of the equation, my family's taken care of. And it sounds a little bit like you're kind of on the same page. I've got two kids, two daughters, both in their 20s. One's 21, one's 24. And they're out on their own and stuff like that. But I still feel a responsibility to take care of them, if you will. So anyway, having said that, I don't know, do you guys want to kind of jump in and kind of talk about what your rationale is, Mel and Freddie, or Joe and Nashra, or Joanna, in terms of why you want to get into real estate investing, what your goals are?
Yeah, I'll go into a little bit about our goals. I think it's just more about achieving independence and leading lives we can be proud of. And just taking back some control, exercising a level of control that, not many people get to enjoy.
That's awesome. That makes total sense. Thank you. Jane, Yana, anybody?
Yeah, I would love to share. So it's in alignment with what you, Jamal, and James are saying. Doing this for for my family, I actually am an immigrant. So I came to the States when I was like 6 years old and have been in this country for 27 years. And I've had to achieve some of the American dream, right? Go through an immigration process and help my parents as well. So unfortunately, my parents aren't really educated per se to about what is financial freedom. So that is my big why. I don't have kids or of my own yet, or a significant other, but I all of these individuals are like my business partners are my family. So it's, you know, to see all of us grow together and give back to the community in some way, shape, or form, because I feel like what you pour out is what you will receive. And I think that, you know, for me, in the sense, I'm a believer, you know, I believe in God, and I think that God uses us as vessels to help those around us. And it's just very nice to meet amazing people that want to do the same thing and so much more. And when you give back, you get all of that in return some way or another, right? And I love this group specifically because not only do they teach, but they're so for giving back to the community. They, you know, James and Nicole, they don't, it's not about the money, right? There's so many programs out here that do charge, you know, $20,000 or $30,000, and it's not about that. It's about how can I help you, and then let's all grow together. So it's just, you know, a big happy family.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you. Jane, Sharon, Mel, Freddie.
Sure. I mean, for us, you know, we kind of started to, you know, coming from W-2 world, we didn't really have the financial education we should have. So we try to give that back to people in the W-2 world. And then we got kind of into affordable housing, which was, you know, providing home ownership for people that couldn't get traditional loans. So we kind of like that, where we're, you know, kind of giving back that way for people that maybe don't have the financial education. And then, of course, you know, taking care of friends and family and putting other people in a better place than they were.
Awesome. Where's Sharon?
To my left here. We didn't want to confuse things and only logged on one computer.
Sharon's always there, but she's always like on the side, you know, kind of thing, which is always so funny. Except when they present, then Sharon's on screen, obviously. Oh, and Mel has a 6-week-old and a 2-year-old. And she just left a message saying, sorry, I have chaos over here. So obviously something is going on. And let's see, Mike, I don't know if you're on. Hey, Ernie, how are you? Good to see you. Ernie, a gentleman named Jamal that is Jamal mentioned is a new person, never been here before, kind of wanted to explore a little bit of the community and stuff like that. And you're down in the Carolinas just as he is. And we're just kind of sharing at this point. We've talked a little bit about underwriting and talking to brokers and always asking questions, and you know, stuff always comes around as long as you stay in the game, kind of thing. And then we're just talking about now. He shared that, you know, he wants to basically take care of his family, right? Very, very family driven. He says he's getting older, but he's got a very young voice. So I don't know how old he is. But you want to share with us, you know, why do you do this? I mean, you've been doing this for a while and you've been very, very successful. Why do you keep doing it?
I like the pain. No. No, really. I mean, the big thing of it is that, you know, originally when I started doing the fix and flips, it was kind of like a couple things, as you know, you're helping out the community with rehabbing a house that has seen better days, right? You're giving an opportunity to another family that maybe couldn't afford a house, or you know, because of the area it was in. Maybe it was, you know, they just didn't have the funds to go in and do a renovation, or whatever the reason is. And so it's kind of like the self gratification in a lot of ways. And then, you know, ultimately it's just kind of like you got to start thinking bigger. And so then you start getting into the scaling side of it and having to start doing volume. And then you figure out, okay, well, now where's my pain points at? Well, I don't have enough deals and I don't have enough money. And so then you kind of find yourself in another pickle where you have to go out and find more deals and more money and different rooms to be put into, because you got to be able to have the resources and the connections to be able to do that. So, that's a never ending cycle. So we're always in that, jumping into new rooms and kind of meeting new people and building those relationships and doing bigger deals and more deals. And much like you guys, right? I mean, you're in the multifamily space, so I haven't even tapped into that one yet to where you guys are. And that's the reason why I'm here, right? Is to continue the education, continue the knowledge building. So you're in the right room.
Awesome. Thanks, Ernie. You got you just had a child, right?
Yeah, I got we have a 3.5-year-old and a 2-month-old.
2-month-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of kids, man.
And I'm sure I'm probably older than the other guy you're talking about.
There could be romance with Ernie's and Mel's and
Oh, that's right.
a little older man there when they grow up and flip houses together or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Mel has how old is she now? 6 weeks? Is Mackenzie?
3 months. She's 3 months.
No,
A
she's
little bit over
not.
3 months. Yeah.
Sugar
She's
mama.
10
Sugar
weeks.
mama.
She's 10
Oh
weeks.
my God.
Almost
10 weeks.
2.5 months.
Oh, 2.5 months. Okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll flip that to
Almost 3 months.
older lady.
So we have
Yeah,
my best friend from the old neighborhood. We're still friends. They're actually coming over on Friday, and we had Natalie, our second, and they had Jack like 3 weeks later, and they've been friends ever since. So it's a pretty cool thing. So we'll have to get you guys together. You have to come up here to Maryland and kind of hang out one time. That'd be great to see you. And we're gonna have to build something, right? Aren't we building something? All those
Yeah.
townhouses up here.
Hey, I'm ready, just as long as it's during the spring, summer, or fall.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. That's awesome. And then I guess Lou, you're here. Lou, are you in Florida as well?
Shit, I'm so sorry. I was kind of half paying attention. I'm still working. I am in Florida generally, but I'm in Baltimore as we speak.
Really?
Yeah, so let me turn up my volume a bit. I'm literally just crawled in from scraping paint and cleaning up the basement today. I'm doing up a house here at the moment. And I've kind of got way too involved. I'm doing it all wrong. And next time I will just find a wonderful general contractor and hand the thing over.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and
Yeah.
you sell yachts down in Florida, right?
Yeah, and charters as well. I'm literally sitting here still doing a charter agreement tonight for a client. So yeah, and so I'm based in Fort Lauderdale, but actually I'll be looking for the next deal up here, which will involve some sort of house hacking, so I can have a base here again.
Right.
Spend more time up here to be on the ground a bit more.
Okay. So where in Baltimore is the property you're doing now?
21215. It's in Park Circle. Yeah, just off Park Heights Avenue between that and Druid Hill Park.
Oh, Druid Hill? Okay.
Yeah, there's a tiny little pocket there that's actually not terrible. And the houses are in my street. I've got to meet several of the owners. Houses on both sides of mine are being renovated slowly but surely. One down the end of the street has been done up and is rented, and I've met the owner of that one. And so the street itself is coming along. And then, of course, just under that, I'm seeing a bunch of flips going on just in the next little section between me and Druid Hill Park.
Right.
So anyway, the area I'm kind of buoyed a little bit by. It's not, it's actually getting better, and I can see it even in the time that I bought this place, but it's a rooming house and I'm kind of working around a couple of tenants. So I'm throwing them a free month of rent as a thank you for putting up with the work at the moment.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, there's only 2 in there paying rent, so it's not like it's the whole rent. But anyway, we're getting there.
You should connect with Joe and Nashua, because Nashua started with a very successful rooming house that she's had for quite a while now.
Okay. So sorry, who was that? Let me write that down.
Joe and Nashua.
That'll be us.
Oh, okay, right. Hi.
So they're looking at deals in different parts of the country for a multifamily, but and I don't know how you guys do it, because I did a lot of flips before I got into multifamily. So I seen both sides, but the rooming house, I guess if you have a good manager, like anything else, it makes sense. But I was a little bit scared of it, to be honest with you. When I first heard about the concept, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, people come in, what, you rent by the week, right? Or not? Or do you do long-term rentals?
No, I do long term.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm off too. It feels a bit rude. I've got long term. So yeah, they're permanent renters. One guy has actually lived in this house for over 2 years before I bought it. Other gentleman has been there from before I bought it.
Right.
He's in the process. He has paid some money, but we're in the process of eviction because he is behind significantly. Right. Yeah, so and the manager, I have changed managers recently to a local lady who is a lot more switched on and knows the rent court system inside and out, right, as well. So I think that will be a good move from that perspective. And we've sort of done a deal on the fact that I'll market it and she'll do the vetting of the tenant. Right. So that's going to do that. And yeah, so she seems pretty great, but I'm just literally, I've ripped out a kitchen late last week and sort of stuff, and I'm far too hands-on, but I'm kind of enjoying it at the same time. I'm learning a lot. I'm getting back into like the building mindset with things, and I won't do it again.
A friend of mine from a long time ago, he had done 1 or 2 flips. He's been very successful doing a couple of other things. But one of the things he told me, and I kind of took to heart, was, James, I don't make any money when I pick up a hammer. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's smart.
I've been lucky to the people up here who have become kind of mentors, and yeah, they've made me swear on, my mother's life that I won't do it this way twice. Right. But being that it was a rooming house, I went in with the saying, okay, it's going to be a light touch here, there, or the other. And then the deeper I dived, the more it needed, and found some moisture issues. So dealing with that sort of stuff in the basement, in the back wall. Yeah. And that's okay. It's all the learning curve. It's my college degree. Right. And, this is a keeper. It's a long-term plan. Right. So I'm not planning to flip it. It will still cash flow.
Okay. Fantastic. So
there's almost no way I can spend so much that it won't cash flow.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, cash flow is king, right? So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
for me on this one,
it's what?
But I have time here. For me on this particular deal, that was the goal.
Right.
Unfortunately, while I've been in Baltimore, I hoped that I would have more time to scout. But right. Anyway.
So, something I was talking about before in terms of property management, we've kind of touched on this a couple of times, and I guess, Jamal, this is more for you, but for everybody. Property managers are an incredible resource for deal flow, right? So I had a guy that actually came and talked at our meetup, like, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, or something like that. And I was looking at a building in Baltimore, which I've now sworn off, Baltimore City, sorry. But so I looked at a building in Baltimore, and I liked the building. It was a C-type building, large Hispanic community, which I love, and the area, once I went to look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've driven past this place like a dozen times, in the time that I've lived here, kind of thing. So that was good. But then Jane and Sharon used to be police officers up here for the county, and she goes, oh yeah, I know that building. I used to chase people into that building because they thought they were in the city and they could get away, but we have whatever that law is, you can go across the line or whatever it is. So anyway, I called this property manager friend of mine, it's interesting. I mean, this is an amazing, amazing, amazing business. It's just so much fun. So anyway, I called this property manager friend of mine. He goes, "Oh yeah, I looked at that building when they were trying to sell it like 2 years ago, and it's at this guy and that guy, whatever it is, and just be careful because you know what you're doing. But somebody else that goes in there that doesn't know what they're doing, they're gonna get slaughtered." And I'm like, "Well, why do you mean?" I said, "Here's their name. Look it up, right?" So I looked up their name and they were indicted like 3 years ago or 4 years ago for taking all this money from all these Texas investors or whatever it is, saying we're going to buy all these properties. And they didn't. They kind of took the money, kind of thing. And somehow they
Yeah.
got away with it, right? But this is their building that they're selling. So I had that. It's like, okay, I don't care. If the price is right, I don't care, right? And I can do something with it positive and affect people's lives and make money and all that stuff. That's great. So I didn't care. But then after what Jane told me about the area, I went there on a Saturday night after we taught a class and kind of drove the area and then stopped next to a police officer. And, we had a nice conversation, but she was like, something, this gas station that I'm sitting in now, there's drug deals all the time. Sometimes they do drug deals when I'm parked here, kind of thing. That huge townhouse
Yeah.
development from the 50s is back there. And they had a name for it. That's like where they dropped the dead bodies. And I was like, all right,
Oh
I'm done.
Lord.
I am
Okay.
not, I will buy anywhere but a war zone. I don't like, you can make a lot of money in war zones, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but that's just not my, buy box anywhere in there.
No, I don't think I've got the tolerance for that either, the
Right.
stamina for it. But I bought this on cash flow. It will still cash flow.
Right.
And anything on it since just until just now in the
Right.
last 6 months. So, and it's going to make it a nicer home for everyone involved and get
Right.
hopefully better tenants longer
Yeah,
term. All that sort of-
absolutely. So
So
yeah,
it's
property
not
management is key. I'm glad you found someone. Because I get calls from a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Is this normal?" I'm like, "Oh my God, that is not normal at all. You need to fire
Yeah.
them and find somebody else." You have to be able to rip that Band-Aid off. And our general rule is if we hire a property management company that we vetted, right? But
Yeah.
trust but verify. If they don't move the needle in 90 days, we're done. We're moving
Yeah.
on to the next one, right? And I personally have made the mistake where it's like, oh, we'll just give them another chance. Oh, they're going to turn around, or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, 9 months later, you're like, oh man, I should have done this like 6 months ago. But back to the property management side. So this guy, when I talked to him, then he calls me like 3 weeks later and he goes, "James, I've got like 280 units that somebody's selling over here, and I got a 70 unit that someone is selling over here. Do you have an interest?" I'm like, "Well, where are they?" And 280 units was in Baltimore, right? So this was before I said no to Baltimore. And I talked to them and thought, okay, maybe we'll do that. And then he sent me like 300 doors up in right across the line in Pennsylvania. That was a mixture, all new construction, but it was a good deal. And she actually just reached back out to me. We threw a number in there. They said no, and she reached out to me, I think 2 weeks ago. But anyway, he referred this other 72 unit building in Mount Airy, which is a town between DC, Baltimore, and Frederick. It's kind of in that triangle. So
Yeah.
great area, that kind of thing. And I think they were asking like, what were they asking? I think they were asking 8, which it wasn't worth. And we came in, because you get creative doing this stuff after a while, right? We came in at 9 with some strategic stuff built in there. And they called us back and they're interested. They'd like to talk about this, right? And I'm like, okay, great. So we talked about it and stuff like that. Long story short, they ended up not doing it because they had a ton of money. This was something that it was a family, they were all very successful in their own right,
Right.
attorneys, doctors, this and that, and their father had all this property all over Maryland. And so they were like, if someone will give us cash, we'll just walk away. But wait, all our bids are coming in about where you came in, right? 6.3, 6.4, whatever it is. But 9 sounds a lot better than 6.3 or 6.4. But they would have to have held it, for like 48 months. So I think they're like, something, we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and kind of move on, which is unfortunate. It was a wonderful building. But one of the things I always say is you start hanging out in groups like this.
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden you connect with somebody and you're like, oh, you did that? Oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And I've mentioned several times, there was a big deal, like 600 or $700 million in the last 12 months where the seller, right, whatever the institution was, had to take back almost 300 million in paper, right? So it's basically owner financing at an institutional level, right?
Wow.
So, you know, it doesn't always work, but you can definitely, the nice thing about being a part of a group like this is that it's not just yes or no. It's all right, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
maybe there's a
Yeah.
different way to skin this kind of thing or whatever it is. And you can get some really, really good deals doing that. Um, Especially now when a lot of people are in trouble because they, you know, overpaid at a low interest rate, did a bridge loan, and now they're upside down when they're going to refinance. And the banks are going, your building's not worth 30 million, your building's worth 22 million because of interest rates and
Right.
the cap rate and everything else. And now they're in a panic, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I got to do something. Um, Hey Jamal, nice seeing you, man. Have a great one. So we're actually at 7:29, almost 7:30.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah, thank you. Have a great one. If you need anything, just feel free to reach out. All right, so there you go. Um, so what else? Anybody have any deals that we want to talk about? I think that was kind of the whole point here behind this call, but um we talked about a lot of the stuff that, you know, we're doing and stuff like that. And you talked, Lou, about some of the stuff that you're doing. Mel and Freddie. Hey, Freddie, if you're on, do you have that one in Westminster that you were looking at? Unless there's chaos there still at your house.
We sent in an LOI for a building in the vicinity of Amarillo, Texas last week.
That's awesome. And did they can you talk a little bit about it just in terms of, you know, how you found it, you know, what was of interest to you, you know, where are you in the process?
So we found it off of Crexy and just spoke to the broker and got all the financials from him and did our underwriting. And based on our analysis, we drew up our LOI, and it's been, I think it was middle of last week that we sent it over, and still there's been no response as to any seller feedback on that.
But he's
Though,
acknowledged it.
right, so they've acknowledged receipt of our offer, just awaiting feedback. But what attracted us to it was, I mean, for one, it was 20 units for a little over $1 million. And there'd be a fairly decent spread on the current rent versus the market rent. And we know that the vicinity of Amarillo, first off, the town is called Canyon, and there's a large, you know, state school there with a decent student body. And that region is known for agribusiness and logistics. So there's a solid base of employers in that region too.
That's great. So, so what's your next step? Are you going to wait? Do you have a certain timeline that says, you know, we'll wait until X, and if they don't get back to us, we'll reach back out to them, or if they don't reach out, you know, you move on to the next one?
I'm willing to give it till maybe the end of this week.
Do
I
they have
mean,
like a best and final, or do they say offers need to be in by a certain date?
this particular broker is a little bit just not as forthcoming in telling us that kind of stuff. So he's a little
Right.
hard to get reach of.
All right. Okay. Yeah. There's
I've
been a
I've
couple.
even considered, like, there are other brokers associated with this listing. I do, you know, you always tell us about make sure you're watching the relationship and nurture it like that. So I don't know if kind of going under him to try to reach the other brokers to see if they're more informative. I don't know if that's the best move. I could just ask this guy to connect us with somebody else, maybe. Because the only thing he's done to get the financials to start took me like a week to just keep on trying without overdoing it. So I don't know why, like, if especially they should be motivated to sell this place. So I don't understand why they'd be hard to reach.
So why are there so many? Is it one company and there are different brokers within the company, or are there brokers from different companies that are involved in this?
So I know you have a lot of deals sent to you directly, but on Crexy, sometimes with a listing, there's like one or two brokers listed there. Sometimes they're just all the brokers of said company. Sometimes it's just, you know, one broker representing the place. I think with this one, maybe it's just brokers of the company that are
Okay.
listed there. So there's
Right.
like one other guy I could call. But they've acknowledged it. Maybe they're also getting a hold of other offers. Maybe they just need to look through what they have, and then we'll get some solid feedback.
And you sent it middle of last week?
Was middle last week?
Yeah, it was around Tuesday or Wednesday last week.
Okay, so that's not too bad. It's only a week, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Maybe they're a lot, and there was no like, you know, call for offers by June or July 20th or anything like that.
No, it's a relatively like I kind of caught it right as it came to the market
Okay.
almost. So I don't think they're in a rush necessarily.
Right. Okay. All right. Um, well, you know, I mean, it took this guy 3 weeks before we reached back out to him, and that is not normal, but I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, checking in and going, hey, just trying to find a timeline, you know, can you let us know where we are with this process or whatever it is? And if he doesn't get back to you this time, um, I think it's reasonable to reach out to another broker and say, hey, you know, not sure, you know, he's out sick or on vacation, whatever it is, we haven't heard back. Can you please help us or whatever it is? So at least you give them an out, right? It's not like, hey, this guy's not responding, you know, can you please do a better job and work with us? You know, if you're not getting the responses after a little while, I think it's okay. But again, couch it as, hey, haven't heard back, interested in the deal, not sure if he's on vacation or whatever it is. And I think you should be fine with that.
Yeah, that would be a good way to do it.
I mean, do you find that if you run into that kind of situation, that is it a function of just is it indicative of a higher deal volume where that broker is?
What do you mean in terms of not getting back to you?
Right. It could just be that, you know, their workflow is just, you know, it's just out of whack compared to, you know, what that market can bear.
I mean, I can't speak for the brokers out there. I don't think so though, right? So, um, you know, brokers are 100% commission. And at the end of the day, when you look at their funnel, right, finding a listing and then starting to get offers, that's job one, right? So unless they've got like 1,000 listings or whatever it is and they can't handle it, I've never seen where a broker has too many listings and they're overwhelmed. Um, you know, maybe, but I suspect that that's not it. I think some brokers, something happens or they're lazy, you know, they're lazy doctors, lazy, you know, everybody in the profession has a lazy one here or there, whatever it is, like this guy that we were dealing with, that said, oh, sorry, I've been on the road, you know, that's why I haven't gotten back to you in a week and a half. And it's like, well, you have a laptop. How, you know, what do you mean you're on the road? Are you like on a horse? You know, what are you doing? So, you know, I don't think it's volume. I think that some people are just not as responsive as they need to be. So yeah, I would just follow up, and if he's still on here, you know, follow up with somebody else on the team. This one guy that we were dealing with, whatever it is, when I hadn't heard back, there were actually two guys on there originally. So I copied the original guy, right, that I think was his supervisor, and just said, hey, just, you know, wanted to reach out, hadn't heard, because we didn't get the T12 for a while either. It took a little while. So I don't know what's going on with a couple of these guys, but that's not normal for them to take that long to get information to you. The only thing I can think of is maybe they're like, you know, we don't know these guys. We don't know if they're serious. So I don't know, you know, everything's different. You just got to play it by ear, but I would definitely follow up. And I think Renard just got here, but we're about to finish. Hey, Renard.
Oh, yeah,
How
I
are
was
you,
trying to
man?
catch y'all. Sorry, I was a little late, but I was trying to catch you just to check in.
It's so we go from 6:30 to 7:30, so
Oh,
you
okay.
did
I'm
catch us
late.
at the very end.
I'm sorry. I
Sorry,
made it. I was trying though.
are you still at work?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to leave. I'm still at the office. I had to finish up some stuff.
It's almost 8.
Yeah.
What do you roll in there like around 1 in the afternoon or
No, I get in at 8 in the morning. I
right?
wish. Yeah.
Soon,
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, this is Bernard, who is a notes specialist. He's been very, very successful working with notes, and he's kind of a new partner. We're all kind of getting together to do stuff together, and he teaches the third Tuesday of the month on Teaching Tuesdays, and he did a phenomenal job last time, and he spoke at the meetup before that. So you know, you can do notes with multifamily, you can do notes with single family. There's an amazing amount of different things you can do with notes. So, you know, I encourage you guys to come back every Tuesday, but you know, if you want to learn about notes, which are pretty phenomenal, I encourage you to come back then too. But I think if unless anybody has any questions about anything real estate related, no politics, no religion, just real estate. All good?
All good, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, everyone. Well, Renard, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for sending
Yeah.
that, by the
See
way.
you.
I replied to the
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Everybody have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.